Mark, when it comes to energy drinks, what are the primary ingredients in these drinks that are providing us with this energy?
Well, the market has experienced an incredible
Right.
explosion of these so-called energy drinks. And there's two classes. There's energy drinks, which are full of water and other forms of sugars or sometimes non-caloric sweeteners with various kinds of stimulant materials, food items, caffeine, herbs, etc. Then there's energy shots, which are usually 2-ounce little bottles that contain a lot of the same ingredients you find in the energy drinks without the water, obviously, and without often the sugar or whatever, because or as much sugar, because you don't need to sweeten it, because you're taking a shot that might be sugar sweetened or sweetened with stevia or sweetened with some other form of sweetener. Basically, and this market's exploding. It's something like a $4 billion industry that's kind of come out of nowhere in the last few years.
I know, it is everywhere. Yeah.
It's astonishing. It was started by Red Bull maybe a decade ago, which I believe is now, I think, Red Bull is now a $4 billion company alone. And then the energy shot market, which is just the little 2-ounce bottles, is close to $900 million, almost $1 billion just in energy shots alone. And now they're spawning the reverse type product, which is also now the beginning of, we're seeing some sedative or sleep-inducing or relaxing type, anti-energy drinks, if you will, because for the people that are feeling too maxed out or too stressed out or maybe too nervous and jittery or looking for a way to kind of calm down, so they're marketing to the other side of the spectrum, so to speak.
Okay.
In the energy drink and energy shot domain, there's 3 or 4 basic ingredients. One of them is going to be caffeine and or caffeine-containing herbs. Caffeine-containing herbs would be green tea, yerba mate from Argentina, cola, which is what makes Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola so famous. That originally it was cola, which is a West African herb that contains caffeine. And other herbs that would also contain caffeine in them, or the extracts of them.
All right.
Then also B vitamins and other vitamins, particularly a lot of your B vitamins, are very commonly found in many of these energy drinks and energy shots. In addition, you'll find a number of amino acids, particularly L-carnitine and taurine, which are very ubiquitous in materials found in almost every one of these things. And then there's a bunch of different specialty ingredients that don't necessarily show up in every one of these things, but they could include them, like ginseng extract, usually Asian ginseng extract, of whatever undefined strength or concentration. They usually don't say. Sometimes they'll put ginkgo biloba extract in there.
All right.
And other herbs as well.
That's pretty packed.
Pretty packed. And I've left out a bunch of these because different companies have different formulations, of course, trying to show that they're unique. However, there seems to be a basic skeleton, if you will, of the B vitamins, the amino acids like taurine and carnitine, the caffeine, which is almost always the primary or most universal ingredient in these drinks, and then other specialty ingredients.
How do these stimulants affect the central nervous system?
The way the stimulants affect the central nervous system is they stimulate the central nervous system. That's basically one of the primary ways these things work. They're stimulants by definition, particularly the caffeine. I mean, many of these things have anhydrous or crystalline caffeine, which is a synthetic caffeine, often aided and or supplanted or supplemented with naturally occurring caffeine found in the concentrated herbal extracts that they'll add, like the yerba mate or the green tea extract, and or a little bit of theobromine from chocolate perhaps, or other forms of caffeine from plant sources. So these are basically, like the shots and these drinks can contain up to 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams, and in some cases, a few cases, you'll see even up to 300 milligrams of caffeine in one of these drinks or shots. Now, just for comparison purposes, your average cup of coffee will contain anywhere from 80 to 120 milligrams of caffeine, depending on what the quality of the coffee, how it's brewed, how long it's brewed, etc. So 100 milligrams of caffeine is equivalent to more or less a cup of coffee, depending on the quality of the coffee and brewing style. It's also equal to a no-dose, which is the synthetic caffeine drugstore stimulant product. So if you get 200 milligrams of caffeine, it's like 2 or 3 cups of coffee, depending on the level of the caffeine in the coffee. So it's a pretty good little jolt.
It is, isn't it?
It does. It gives you a jolt, and it lasts for about 4 or 5 hours, depending. I mean, the biggest product on the market uses the 5-hour in the trademark. That's the trademark of the product. And these things keep people energized, focused, whatever, for a significant amount of time. There are some concerns among health professionals and some athletic coaches about the use of these energy drinks for young children and or adolescents, particularly in the domain of athletic performance.
Okay.
Concerns have been raised about the impact or the effect of this much caffeine for young children and adolescents taking 100, 200 milligrams or more of caffeine in a short period of time, or even throughout the day.
All right.
It's a lot.
It is.
And some of the proposed potential adverse effects of these energy drinks usually pertain or correlate directly with the kinds of adverse effects associated with high amounts of caffeine. Nervousness, irritability, insomnia, etc.
Yes.
So basically, the adverse effects that most of the people are concerned about, especially in younger people, are consistent with high uses of caffeine.
And that would be the detriment right there.
The potential detriment. I mean, caffeine is a ubiquitous
Yes, it is.
ingredient in our culture. We see caffeine in cola drinks and caffeinated beverages. They're sold
That's
in
true.
schools, sold in every office building. They're sold in government office buildings, military reservations, convenience stores. You can't go anywhere without seeing caffeine, or coffee stores or coffee shops like Starbucks or whatever, not
Right.
to give anybody a plug. And we are a culture that is almost or virtually addicted to caffeine. It's a very well tolerated addiction, if you will, in our culture. I mean, I have a hobby of collecting cartoons, as many people know, regarding health issues. And almost every week or every month in the funny papers, we see cartoon characters making fun, or the cartoonists through their cartoon characters, making fun of the fact that the cartoon characters can't get their day going without a stiff cup of coffee, sometimes the big cup of coffee. Well, I'll reduce my coffee habit down to 1 cup. Of course, the cup is the size of 5 cups of coffee. That's the joke. Or other forms of making fun of the fact that so many people are so, if I use the word addicted, I'm probably not being erroneous in my description. It may sound a little harsh, but there is a strong caffeine addiction, which is somewhat tolerated in this culture because it's productivity oriented, whereas we do not tolerate addiction to alcohol or other kinds of substances that actually inhibit or impede productivity.
That makes sense.
It's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing, and it's commerce, too.
Now, I'm not condoning one way or the other. I'm just
Right.
describing a phenomenon, and this is a phenomenal explosion in interest in this area. And it's not just the caffeine, however, that gives people the energy. There are other ingredients in these caffeine laden beverages that have also increased energy, increased ATP production in the cells. Adenosine triphosphate, which is a chemical in the mitochondria of the cells. Every cell in our body has the mitochondria. We inherit from our mother, and that's like the battery or the cellular energy mechanism in each cell that powers the cellular processes. And what happens with some of these ingredients in these energy drinks and energy shots is that actually increases ATP production, which is actually how to increase actual cellular metabolism, how to increase cellular energy.